ceasefire because we won the war. And when you win the war, as you know, um, at the end of a war that you won bigly, you have a ceasefire uh, because you won. And when you win, the other side doesn't surrender. They say they're not going to surrender, that they want to fight. And then you say, no, let's have a ceasefire. And then they say, no, we're going to fight. And then you say, no, we're going to have a ceasefire. And then they say, go, what? Yourself? Anyway, so that's where we're at now. But rest assured, we won the war. We won so much that we got sick of winning. Are you tired of winning yet? Remember that slogan from Donald, the Savior Trump? It might surprise you to know that I'm not actually tired of winning yet. I'd like to win some more. If we could do that, that would be great. Oh, by the way, we bombed Iran, but it didn't violate the ceasefire. Maybe I don't have the grasp of our language that I thought I did. But when you cease to fire, I thought that meant you stopped bombing the people who you won the war with. But apparently, there's a lot of things that are changing very rapidly in the world, and definitions of words are one of those things. So apparently we bombed around, but it didn't violate the ceasefire, which, by the way, is awesome because, as you know, Israel's been bombing the shit out of Christian people all over Lebanon, but that doesn't violate their ceasefire either. Yes, and I do love the TikTok shop. So shop at the TikTok shop. By the way, one of my clients wanted to go ahead and see just how amazing the TikTok shop was. So he went ahead and bought some Silver Eagles through the TikTok shop, and he got them for $35, which is an amazing deal because spot price is obviously more than twice that now. And then you can add $10 on top of that for Eagles. So he did get them. He received them. It wasn't a scam from that standpoint. And then, of course, he took them down to make sure that they were made out of something. And they were made out of something. Him ramble on about how he aced his cognitive test. Yeah, that was actually a urinalysis test. That was not a cognitive test, but he did ace it. He has no pot in his system. By the way, nobody can figure out what these Eagles are made out of that he bought from the TikTok shop for half price. Now, I don't want you to think he's stupid. He knew going in that they weren't going to be what they were advertised to be, but he thought, what the hell, let's give it a shot. Let's see what they really actually are. So he's going to be sending me some of those because I have some acid tests I can do on them to try to figure out what exactly these things are. We don't know. We have no idea. But they're interesting. We can say that with absolute certainty. They are a mystery metal that is interesting. Bring back Biden, the 3Bs. You know, it's funny because there are people out there who would really love to do that. They probably should go watch the recent Joe Rogan interview with the congressman who was the one that found that under Biden we sent them over $3 billion after we left Afghanistan. Now I know you're thinking, well, no, we left them like $10 billion in military equipment. That's what you're talking about. No, not Massey. I forget his name. But anyway, so on top of leaving them all of that military equipment, we then actually paid them $40 million. Was it $40 million a week? I remember it was that we were sending them cash. We were sending them pallets, like wooden pallets that were stacked with $100 bills. They actually showed it. They actually showed a picture of one of the pallets, and sure as hell, they were stacked with $100 bills straight from the printer. Yep, we are paying the Taliban, which is awesome, I guess. I couldn't tell you why we're paying the Taliban right now. Simply disgusted. You probably should do your homework before you get on here and shoot your mouth off. Literally, it's been all over the news. Why don't you Google that before you stick your foot up your own butt there? We're sending the Taliban money constantly. Joe Biden did it. Apparently, we're still doing it. This is really, really sad that we're sending them cash. And the reason we're sending them cash is because they are having some issues with doing bank wires because of the restrictions because they're the Taliban. Let's see. Let's try something here just for fun. Is the United States of America sending the Taliban $40 million a month in aid? Claims from U.S. lawmakers, including Republican Tim Burchett, allege that roughly $40 million in taxpayer money is flown into Afghanistan weekly. Let's see. While the U.S. government maintains that it does not directly fund the Taliban, okay, so whatever your name was, you probably should apologize to your mom and your dad for turning out the way you did and go somewhere else. Because that statement that we don't directly fund the Taliban. I said not directly? No, we would never directly fund the Taliban. Oh. Okay, well, we should, what we should do? We should have a bill that says, just for the hell of it, because we pass bills about things like National Cheese Day. Why don't we have a bill that says that under no circumstances will we allow any of our American tax dollars to go to the fucking Taliban? How about that? Oh, I'm sorry. Congressman Tim Burchett already tried to get that passed, and guess what? They said, no fucking way. Why would you say no? Why would anybody in Congress be against that? Why would anyone say no? Legend confirmed. Yes, the money does end up feeding and supporting the Taliban. What? Wait, what? Those are the guys who killed my friends. They killed my Marines. They killed your family members, your citizens. They're the ones who passed a law that says women cannot speak in public. They're the ones who said, once they took over, I saved this one. I actually saved this article because I knew people wouldn't believe me. They're the ones who said they're going to reinstitute the Sharia law that says if you're caught stealing, they cut off your hand. If you get caught stealing again, you'll have to have somebody else wipe your ass for the rest of your life. Wow. Yeah, those people. We're sending them. Now, it's a week. Yeah, you see, I in my mind, I had already dropped it down to a month because I just couldn't, like, my mind can't even fathom that we're sending the fucking Taliban $40 million a week. The Taliban. Now, I know you're thinking, well, but remember when they were our friends? No, I do remember when the Taliban government took over and they came over to the United States. I do remember that. And I remember when they shook hands with the Secretary of Defense. And I do remember when they held a press conference and a reporter stood up in the press conference and said, are you planning on changing the way that you treat women? And the spokesman for the Taliban, you can YouTube this, it's fun, said, you have a big mouth. Your husband doesn't beat you enough. What? Yep, he sure did. He said it right there in the press conference. That was one of those woo moments where it's like, woo, what did he just say? Yeah, he said, you have a big mouth. Your husband doesn't beat you enough. Wow. So I get it. Those are the guys you would want to give $160 million a month to, which is only, I mean, what is that? A couple $1 billion a year? It's only a couple $1 billion a year. Hell, we spend that in a day on this war that we won way back when. Like, we won that on day one. We won. That's why they call it day one, because we won that day. And by the way, we're still winning, even though it's over. They surrendered. Not really, but they did surrender because we won so bigly. And by the way, the war's over again today. We won, but we did bomb them today. But that's not a violation of the ceasefire. So just calm down. What could go wrong? Well, what could possibly go wrong in the world? The Germans just announced that they're not going to allow anyone to display any symbols that celebrate Russian Victory Day. This is the big Victory Day from like 100 years ago. Some battle nobody gives a shit about anymore, but the Russians are happy to celebrate it. It's just one of those days, like our 4th of July. But the Germans, for some odd reason, have such a stick up their ass that even though you can do anything you want if you're wearing a burqa, you're not allowed to have a Russian Victory Day symbol, or you get in trouble. Now, do you understand why I do what I do for a living? Do you understand why I think that these are going to save you? Oh, and by the way, all of the indicators right now show that we are in exactly the same situation with AI, with the amount of spending on AI and the amount of money that's been dumped into AI, which has made a tremendous amount of money for a lot of companies. You see the small group like NVIDIA or some of these smaller companies that just exploded with hundreds of billions of dollars going into them. And then that money went directly out into other companies. And also basically everything in the S&P 500 has made tons of money for the last several years, especially in the last year. It's just exploded with growth. Well, the problem is that explosion of growth has not actually led to an explosion in profits through AI. So cast your mind back to, let's see, back in the late 90s when there were telecom companies, big, like WorldCom. Remember that name? WorldCom? Remember how they were putting down fiber optic cable all over the United States because fiber optic was going to be the next big thing. And in fact, it was 10 years later. But because of the amount of money dumped into the fiber optic craze, we ended up with about 100 times what we needed as far as fiber optic, but no profits. And then directly on the back of that came the .com craze. If it says .com, it's going to make trillions of dollars overnight. And then that bubble burst. As Donald Trump would say, bigly. So why am I saying that that's about to happen in AI? Because AI doesn't do anything yet. Not really. I mean, yeah, you want to help cheating on your English paper if you're a senior in high school, sure. We are definitely overspending on data centers right now because they are needed for AI. But what does AI do? Well, nothing right now, not much, but it's going to make trillions of dollars. Well, yeah, I mean, eventually. Okay, so what about the next few years? No, not at all. So what happens when all of these companies that have made all of this money because of this huge amount of expense going into AI, mostly, by the way, from private equity and your banks, what happens when that doesn't return anything over the next, say, 12 months? Well, it's already starting. Companies are starting to see that, you know what, we probably should get close to the exit on this shit because it's not really doing much. Like, it sounded great. It sounded like this is going to be awesome, but, Well, that's the thing about quantum computers is that they just proved a week ago, and I watched the entire thing. It was so boring that I would have rather watched paint dry. But they've proven that for only a tiny, very specific thing, are quantum computers actually that great? Yeah, I thought quantum computers were going to be the end of everything we know. Turns out, no. You can actually make a classic computer system work almost as fast as a quantum computer. Oops. So all that bullshit we heard about quantum computing and how it was going to change everything, it's not. For simple tasks, especially, regular classic computing is actually much faster. There are only a few things that quantum computers can do better. That's it. Okay, well, but I thought this whole thing with the chips and electrons, you can only make them so small, and there's this rule about how it doubles and doubles, and well, that shit's all gone. And the reason all that shit's gone is because they just came up with a completely new way of making chips. They're not going to use electrons anymore. They're going to use photons. Light. When you use photons instead of electrons, you don't have any heat. No heat means you don't have huge information centers that need huge amounts of cooling systems, which, by the way, is the biggest problem with these information centers. All of these big tech centers that we're building, they have to be cooled by enormous amounts of cooling water because chips generate so much heat. Not anymore. So now we can start. And by the way, the craziest part is it's the Germans who came up with this electron chip, and it seems to be about 100 times faster than the electron chips. This is going to get wild, guys. Well, hi, Monica. So basically, the entire industry, as you know it, including NVIDIA and all of the big chip manufacturers like TC, MSC, whatever that shit's called, that's right down the street here. That's all old news now. It's all old technology now. Boom, just like that. That shit's antiquated. It's like finding a Model T in your old hay barn. So what? Nobody wants one. They're not even collectible. So, wow, this is a big deal for everybody, but nobody knows about it yet. So just keep one. If you're in the tech space, if you're in the S&P 500, if you're in the NASDAQ, make sure you understand that if you stay in it for the next few years, you're going to lose half of your life savings. Bye-bye, gone, period. That's it. Now, it will come back over the course of the next 15 years. So if you're in your 50s or 60s, you're screwed. If you're in your 30s, don't worry. By the time you hit 50, your portfolio will be back to the same dollar amount that it is now. Of course, by then, that dollar amount will buy you less than half of what it would buy you now. Yeah, so you'll never make your money back, ever, period. That's scary. So I would say that now is a good time to not be in the market. Clearly, the real estate market is completely and utterly collapsing. Anybody that's paying attention to the numbers, when you see things like, oh, it's a buyer's market. Really? Why is that? It was a seller's market. That's an interesting question, Janet. I wouldn't know about anything like that. But clearly you've been buying silver from the wrong people. Otherwise, you wouldn't be asking me that question. See what I'm saying? But at least the good news is if you buy it through someplace like APMEX, you're going to pay, 20% more than you would if you bought it from me. And you're going to give them your social security number, which, by the way, any of my clients in here can tell you, I don't ask for their social security number. I'm sure you're going to report it to the IRS all on your own. It's none of my business. As far as I know, it's not required by law for me to get your social security number. And when they tell me it is, from that point forward, I will start asking. But at this moment, nope, not going to ask. See, the thing is, I'm not going to bend over backwards to do anything for the United States government unless they tell me that by law I have to, or else. Because this government does not represent me in any way. Never has in my entire lifetime. See, I was born after Kennedy. And so the military industrial complex and the oil companies have owned this company along with the Israeli lobby since before I was born. This is not my country. Yeah, I joined the Marine Corps. I was willing to die for this country, but that's because I didn't understand who actually owned the country. Now that I understand who owns the country, I'm not going to go out of my way for these folks. Oh, what? I'm going to help fund a ballroom? Sure. Oh, yeah, let me bend over backwards for that. They said it was free before they said it was going to cost $1 billion. $1 billion for a ballroom that your donors paid for? You said this publicly. Your donors were going to pay for this. It wasn't going to cost a dime. Then you tore down part of the White House and said, oh, I meant $1 billion. Ha ha ha, joke's on you. Yeah. The joke's on us, all right, but it's not funny. So let's figure out what's going on here. Let's see. U.S. conducts new Iran strikes along the Hormuz corridor. Trump says warships came under fire by lunatics. Lunatics. There are lunatics with missiles. Well, that wouldn't be a bad idea there, Kathmandu. I would like to see him have to pay for that. I mean, God knows Jared Kushner is going to make enough money by turning Gaza into a resort. Why not? Let's see. April payrolls. A big drop from March. Payrolls are in and it's a big drop from March. What would that mean? It means that there are layoffs everywhere and the economy sucks and nobody knows it. And everybody thinks that either A, we've got a king, or B, we've got a Messiah. Wow, how's that for division? Yeah, there's definitely a recession coming in a huge way. And the reason that there's a recession coming is because we've got all the oil you could ever want. Problem is, we're going to be selling it to everybody else in the world. And if you want some, you're going to have to bid against everybody else. Period. You want oil? Not a problem. What's England willing to pay for it? What's Japan willing to pay for it? Because they absolutely need it. They don't have any of their own. Okay, the economy of Germany has been absolutely destroyed by the Nord Stream pipeline incident. People don't talk about it that much, but go back and do the research. You'll see their GDP starting to fall off immediately as soon as they lost their energy. Well, that's a no-shitter for anybody. I mean, you don't have to be an economist to figure out if you have no energy, you can't manufacture anything. How can you have a service economy if you can't service anything because you have no energy? Now, conversely, how do you make any profit if the energy you do have is wildly expensive, like ours is going to be? There's no way around this, folks. We're gonna pay for this war. We can't talk our way out of this one. This is done. It's, the cake is baked, as they say. All right, let's see. Come on. Quit screwing around with me here. Let's go to futures, crude oil. Crude's only $96 a barrel. $96 a barrel. That is a rough one. Silver's back to 80 again, where it'll bounce around for a while until things start to get really bad. Yep, absolutely. So the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow. Wow, that's weird that they're all off today because, they should be going higher, right? The war's over. We won again. We have been winning this war every day. And I don't mean like pushing towards the finite goal of actually finishing the war, because clearly the war will never be finished. It's kind of an ongoing thing, but we won. It's over, sort of. Except we're bombing Iran, but not in a way that violates a ceasefire. And see, when you get to a point as a country where this nonsensical, insane shit passes for, oh yeah, no, that makes sense. No, it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. We all see that like the emperor has no clothes, folks. And there are a lot of people out there who don't realize that. They're like, oh no, I'm just not smart enough. I don't know how to play 5D chess. There's no such thing. There is no 5D chess. The most complicated game you can play as a board game is Go. And I'm telling you right now, we're not playing Go. We're certainly not playing 5D Go. What we're doing is we're flailing around as a now failed state, because the only thing we had going for us was that we were the loudest, scariest country in the world. And if you were our enemy, we could never, you just never sleep. You can't sleep. If you go to sleep, we might just take over your country. You wake up and you're in another state because we took over your country while you were sleeping, because we could do that. Well, guess what? We can't do that. It was bullshit. I was shocked when we hit Iran. I was shocked. I was like, why would we do this? This is the worst place that you could possibly. I mean, look, Kazakhstan. Yeah, I know it's landlocked. It's in the middle of nowhere. It's right next to Russia. You're probably going to set them off. But I still think that would have been a better choice than Iran, because Iran is completely surrounded in all the areas we can get to by mountains. An amphibious assault by the U.S. Marines is a terrible thing. It's a scary thought for any country. If you have mountains that drop straight into the ocean that are a couple thousand feet high all along most of your coastline, that makes you sleep better at night. Really, it does, because they're not coming over those mountains from an amphibious assault. There's no place to land. So I'm absolutely certain there, North Carolina Sugar, that you're joking, right? That we're threatening to nuke us with what? They have 60% enriched uranium, not 90%. They don't have the centrifuges they need because we blew up Natanz. Or were they just going to take it and put it in a sling and spin it around like a centrifuge for a few hours, handing it off from guy to guy to keep it spinning until they actually enriched it to 90%? Were they then going to make a delivery system for it? They're not allowed to have a nuclear weapon. They weren't far off from it. What exactly do you know that the Central Intelligence Agency, the National Security Agency, the who else? Let's see, the Director of National Intelligence. All of our intelligence agencies said they don't have a weapon, they don't have a program to make a weapon, and they have no intention of making a weapon. But you know something that all of them don't know. They had enough uranium to have a few nukes. No, they don't. I'm trying to look, not arguing with you because you don't know what the hell you're talking about. I'm educating you, so listen. They have 60% enriched uranium, several kilos of it. They need 90% to make a weapon. You have to have an enrichment facility, which, by the way, we blew up. So they don't have any uranium that could be used for a weapon right now. They could, over the course of time, enrich that uranium if they rebuilt their centrifuges. which they have no intention of doing. And the Central Intelligence Agency said they weren't even trying to do. Oh my God. No, I believe it because the Director of National Intelligence of the United States of America said it. Because the Central Intelligence Agency said it. Because the National Reconnaissance Office, the NRO, the guys who oversee everything, they said it. You believe it because your Jesus named Donald Trump said it. That's sad. That makes me sad that you would put one guy who is clearly controlled by another country in that position of, well, every other piece of evidence said no, but that my guy said yes, so that's all that matters. Well, the reason we didn't find the Iraqi weapons of mass destruction is because the only weapons of mass destruction they had were chemical and biological weapons, and we blew those up during the first Gulf War back in the 90s. That I know for a fact, because when they blew it up in such a huge way that it actually killed a lot of Marines. Now, didn't kill them immediately. Didn't kill them immediately, but it did kill them because all of that dust blew over all of the Marines that were in the area. Did we not have Russia? Did we know Russia was? Of course we know that. Of course we know they're helping them. That's a given. They've been helping them for a long time. But helping them what? Build a nuclear bomb? Do you think that Russia is that stupid? Russians aren't stupid. Why do you think that we're so much smarter? And would I trust the CIA if they said weapons of mass destruction in Iraq like they did? No. Because they want to go to war with everybody all the time. But when even they say there's no chance that they want nukes, well, you got to believe them. Because they lie about everybody wanting nukes. They lie about everything they can in order to get us to go to war. So for even them to say, we don't see anything, it's like, okay, well, holy shit, if they don't see it, then it's not there. What do they have? Well, number one, they have AIPAC. They have AIPAC. If you don't think AIPAC is real, look at what's happening to Congressman Massey. Thomas Massey right now is literally being, it's unbelievable the amount of money that they are spending to primary him. This guy is a good, solid Republican. The kind of Republican that even Democrats have respect for. They don't like what he's doing. They don't like his policies, but they respect him. But because he is so adamant about the Epstein files and getting those damn files open so we can see them, everybody hates him now. Well, when I say everybody, Trump calls him a total failed politician and a loser, even though he's a Republican. And Miriam Adelson is spending millions and millions of dollars. Israel first. She wants to primary him and have a guy that is has said in the past that he absolutely hates Trump. But now he loves Trump? No, he loves money. And so he's going to run against Thomas Massey. I think Thomas Massey's going to win, though, because so many people are onto this bullshit now of do what we say or we'll spend whatever it takes to destroy your life, and then we'll take over Congress and the Senate. And then everybody will be like, oh, I don't know, Lindsey Graham. How's that possible? How does Lindsey Graham sleep at night? How could he possibly sleep at night? Well, because he doesn't care. He does not care. And that's actually true. Thomas Massey, Tim Burchett, there are a few others that are staying true to what we voted for. We wanted the Epstein files released. We want to know who these people are. Show us who these people are. Tell us who did this. Well, there's nobody. What? There's nobody? What do you mean there's nobody? Well, it looks like there were no traffickers. Epstein didn't traffic those girls to anybody. There's 7 million pages of evidence, hundreds of thousands of hours of videotapes that he used for blackmail for somebody. Who, like, what are we talking about here? Oh, no, there's no files at all. No files whatsoever. Remember? There are no files. Pam Bondi said there are no files. Kash Patel said there are no files. Dan Bongino said there's nothing there. He didn't traffic to anybody, period. And he did kill himself in jail, period. End of story. They know for a fact. Now, after that, how can you possibly trust anybody in this administration? The guy who runs the Justice Department is the same one who moved Ghislaine Maxwell from maximum security to minimum security and gave her a puppy and her own special diet because, she's a vegetarian. Are you fucking kidding me? Nope. And after that 5-hour interview where she apparently got the hint that, hey, as long as you don't say anything bad about Donald Trump, you may actually get out of prison someday. Oh, okay. I know exactly what he said. He said that, look, I'm not in them. Yeah, actually you are. No, I'm not in them. But my friends are in them, and I don't want my friends to get hurt because you could tell I'm such a great guy. I'm so loyal to my friends, like Thomas Massey, who helped me get elected, or Tim Burchett, or Marjorie Taylor Greene. Come on, guys. Do you not see what's going on? The people who stood up and said, no, this is what you ran on. You got to do this. They all turned into idiots and morons and worthless, failed politicians. Just like that. Just like that. Now, is that because Trump is a bad human being? I don't think so. Ted Cruz is one of the worst human beings on planet Earth. A liar, cheat, thief, and a fake Christian. Gotta love that. Gotta love those fake Christians. They're my favorites. Here's the interesting part about Donald Trump. He doesn't want to know anything about the kid who shot him in Pennsylvania. Doesn't want to know anything about it, has never asked, has never talked about it afterwards, doesn't want to talk about it, period. You do not bring it up, period. Don't bring it up in an interview. What do you mean don't bring it up? The bullet was here instead of here or here or here. It was just inches. I mean, this is what, 3 inches away from the middle of his fucking forehead? He doesn't want to talk about it? Why? I wouldn't shut the fuck up about it. I would want to know everything. Who is behind this? Oh, somebody said Iran. Iran? What? That's crazy, man. Are you nuts? Look, the one thing you don't want to do if you're any country in the world is try to take out the president and fail at it. Because if you do, my God, we will bring hell right to your doorstep. So the idea that this country that's been shit on for years because they don't like Israel, Israel doesn't like them, there's this long-term, low-scale war going on between proxies. The last thing they want is to give the United States an excuse to intervene directly. So who did it? I don't know. You'll never know. You'll never know. You will not live long enough to find out what the hell happened in Pennsylvania that day. Because everything they said was just ridiculous. Like literally everything that they talked about was silly. Oh, well, we were going to stage on that roof, but it was too steep. So what? It was literally, the slope was like a couple percent. Where they did set up behind Trump up on that really steep pitched roof, it was like 20%. It's like, no, where you were set up was like this, and this roof was literally, it was like that. And then where they were set up was like this. It doesn't make any sense. You got guys that are spotters, professional assassins who are set up with scopes, and directly across from them, there's a guy walking around on a flat rooftop with an AR-15 in civilian clothes who is obviously a teenager. Everybody's screaming, hey, there's a guy up on the roof. People watching from the lawn are screaming. But your spotters don't spot him? Come on. Like, am I supposed to believe this? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. So I don't know what happened that day. Was it staged? Was it real? Did he really almost get his head taken off? I don't know. But I can tell you this, that when Israel decided that they were going to take out the Hezbollah leadership by putting explosives in pagers and using pagers as a way to kill people, that was some serious spycraft right there. That was some serious espionage. That was some seriously high-tech shit right there, okay? Now, do I agree with it? Of course not, because they detonated them all at the same time. And so a lot of those guys were in public where innocent people were standing around. Christians, not just those people, but the people you actually care about. Children standing right next to a guy with a pager on his hip. And they died. Why? Because they happened to be shopping that day. Oof, that's ugly. But it does show one thing, that if Israel considers you a threat, there's no place on earth you can hide. There's nothing you can do to get away from Israel if they consider you a threat. Period. So Benjamin Netanyahu was the first dignitary to come visit. He comes in, he gives the President of the United States a gift. It's a golden pager. Benjamin Netanyahu handed the president of my country a golden pager. Huh. That's an interesting message. Certainly not a real present. And of course, the people that are staffers in the White House, they saw that present and they went, oh shit. When they were asked, do you think that the president thought it was a gift, or do you think they thought it was a threat? They said, oh, no, he knew it was a threat. It's a direct threat. It's a warning. We paid for you. We bought you. Do what you're told, or the next pager will be for you. As a matter of fact, here's your pager. Don't worry. You're our boy still. This one's gold. This one's not full of explosives. But it could be. That explains everything about this presidency. Everything about this presidency. A guy who almost gets his head taken off. A guy who is absolutely scared to death that he's going to get assassinated. A guy who is handed a golden pager by the prime minister of a country that right now on Wikipedia proudly displays over 1,000 political assassinations of people they don't like. Oh, well, what about this guy? Did you kill this guy in Israel? No, he was in another country when we killed him. You went to another country and killed him. Yep. Okay. Did he kill your people first? No. What did he do? Shit we didn't like. Oh, okay. So just a political assassination. Like, I don't know, like a Charlie Kirk type of guy, except, he lives in Lebanon, or he lives in, Egypt, or someplace that's really, really easy to take out people like that. Yeah, something like that. So, the CIA, do they do it? Yep, absolutely. So it's interesting because it makes you wonder, like, how would you handle it if you knew for a fact, like, let's not make light of this particular situation. Let's say that you knew that this country not only had the ability, but had the mindset that do what we want you to do, help us. And if we think that you are going to betray us, you will not survive. How would you handle that? Well, I can imagine they probably, you have to understand that they can't take us all out. Israel's not taking us all out, not all at once. They're just going to make sure that we're fighting with each other until we've weakened ourselves and each other. That's literally, if you look at what's going on in the United States right now, it's like, what happened? What happened? Name two things that really just really fucked the United States up. I would say that the two biggest things, because you can't say, the internet. No, the internet is just a thing. It's like saying, if it weren't for Highway 5, we'd be fine. No, it's just a thing. The U.S. attacks Iran and lets Israel know just a sample of our power. No, that's absolutely not what happened. That's not a sample of our power. That is not a sample of our power. That is literally hundreds of billions of dollars pissed away. They're not telling us it. You think that it actually only cost us like 40 billion or whatever they said? It's bullshit. That's total bullshit. It's only costing us $1.5 billion a day. What? $1.5 billion a day? Yeah, that was everything we had that we threw at them. The only thing we didn't do was actually put boots on the ground. Thank God. Thank God for that. A little bit of common sense there. But we literally, you have to understand, we launched over 1,000 Tomahawk cruise missiles. What is the cost of a Tomahawk cruise missile? Wow, $2.5 million. $2.5 million, huh? All right, well, I guess we just do a little math here. Where is the calculator? Right there. 2.5 million dollars times 1,000 equals hundreds, 100,000s, millions, billions. So $2.5 billion. That's what I thought. All right, so $2.5 billion just in tomahawks. Wow. We're entering a time when boots on the ground are not necessary. Really? Can you do me a favor then? Can you tell me the last time a war was won with air power alone? I'll wait. You know what? How about if I hold my breath while I wait? Wow. Okay, I'm not going to hold my breath anymore because clearly there's never been a war won with air power alone, and there never will be, ever. We haven't had a war since we've had these capabilities. Okay, since we've had these capabilities, you mean Tomahawk cruise missiles, B-2 bombers, B-1 bombers, Lancers, B-52s, F-22s, F-35s. I mean, Iraq, Afghanistan. We just left Afghanistan a few years ago. What are you talking about? Oh, the Spanish, right? Right. The Great War back in 1865. It ended. It's funny. I mean, come on, man. Yeah, but we have drones. We're the ones who came up with drones back in the 90s. We were using drones. We were using drone technology. Obama used more drone strikes than any president ever. We haven't even caught up with Obama yet. He killed so many fucking people with drone strikes. I mean, you couldn't have a wedding in the Middle East without Obama's administration drone striking you. He was the first president that ever killed an American citizen without due process publicly. Like, as soon as he took over, he killed a guy and his son who were both American citizens in 2 different drone strikes, by the way, weeks apart. And no due process. He was never charged with a crime. He was never, there was never an arrest warrant, no grand jury, nothing. He just didn't like what he was saying. That's basically what the SecDef said at the time. They just said, we don't like what he was saying. So they had a drone strike and killed him in a car that he was driving in. And then his son was killed at a cafe, 16 years old, killed at a cafe. They said, oh, well, he was just in the wrong place at the wrong time. We didn't actually mean to kill him. And when I say they said he was in the wrong place at the wrong time, I saw the press conference, I saw the briefing, and the Secretary of Defense, when asked, what do we do about that? He was an American citizen. He just went, oh, he was in the wrong place at the wrong time. Just like that. Like, no big deal. It's just an American citizen. Damn. Well, I guess if that's the case, then, we should be very careful what we say, right? Oh, God, no, please. Groundbreaking new study regarding ivermectin and cancer. Don't do it, kids. It's horse paste. Damn. 373 drone strikes in Pakistan alone? Woo! Now there's a record you ain't going to beat. Let's see. You were Tea Party, then birther, and now MAGA. No. No. Nice try, though. Actually, none of those things. And the funny part is that the Tea Party got that symbol, you know, the Gadsden flag, and started using it about 6 months after I got this cool tattoo of the Gadsden flag, because it was the Marine Corps' first way of identifying ourselves. We put it on our snare. So before we had the Eagle, Globe, and Anchor, we had that, which was really funny because then everybody started looking at me like, oh, you're one of those Tea Party guys. And it's like, oh, shit. No, Matthew, I think you're safe on that one. It's a parasite detox. Why does the U.S. not routinely detox when we're parasitic? I think she said. Oh, the unhealthiest. Parasites are your friends, okay? Parasites can be very beneficial. As a matter of fact, they're your greatest ally. Just ask anybody. Parasites are the United States of America's greatest ally. And you have to give them billions of dollars a year because they're not very good with money. They didn't invent usury or interest. Oh, no, I'm just fucking with you. Sorry, man. You obviously, North Carolina doesn't get the fact that I'm joking. No, I always joke about ivermectin because ivermectin is first won a Nobel Peace Prize in medicine for being so effective. And it's like hydroxychloroquine. People were like, hydroxychloroquine? Well, that shit's just for cleaning fish tanks. No, actually, it's a direct descendant of quinine, which is used for fighting parasites. And so quinine really messes with some people. Like you can't, it's intolerable. So parasites, senators, I like that. By the way, depending on what parasites they were, if they made me skinny, I might let them stay for a little while, just a little while, not too long. But yeah, actually, one of the things that I've heard theorized, okay, this could be crazy. Don't hit me for misinformation there, Tic Tac, you sons of bitches. I heard that one of the reasons that people get cancer, because remember, whatever the fucking guy's name was back in ancient Greece, the father of medicine, said that all health begins in the gut. Well, it turns out 2,600 years later, he's right. If your gut biome screwed up, you're going to get all kinds of diseases. So the idea that parasites might actually be screwing up your gut biome and taking away from you stuff that you need to say, oh, I don't know, fight cancer, because we all have cancer. Yeah, Hippocrates. I'm just kidding. Hippocrates is really, I mean, it's amazing that he knew this all those years ago. But the idea that parasites could be taking the nutrients from you that you need to fight cancer, shit, that actually makes sense. They love that Ozempic for, oh, no, it is a really bad idea. Look at the people who are on Ozempic. Oh my God, they look terrible. They look terrible. It's like, whoa, when did you get released from that concentration camp? They look all sunken in and, I don't do it. Like, I wouldn't mind losing 50 pounds, but I'm not doing it that way. As a matter of fact, I'm going back in to my living room after this, and I'm going to get back on my exercise bike that I told you guys I was going to buy because I did a half hour before this. And I'm going to go back out there, watch some TV, and do another half hour. And I also did get the Schwinn Airdyne bike, which is a bitch. I mean, damn. Yeah, you could cruise on it and just cruise, or you can just use the pedals and not touch the upper body stuff, but you're gonna go to hell if you do that. So, you got to actually earn it. Um, uh, yeah, but we all need to lose a little weight probably, except it's the really really skinny people. The people that are really really skinny, they're the ones that are like, damn, if I could just put on 10 pounds of muscle, I can put on muscle by thinking about working out. Unfortunately, at some point that becomes ridiculous. When you get up to the point where you weigh yourself and you're in, say, 350 range, that's too much. Like, that's now you weigh more than a lowland mountain gorilla. And somebody, by the way, a fighter in the UFC, finally stole my nickname. I knew it was going to happen because I loved it. I've literally had it for 35 years, and I was shocked that no fighter took it. But my friends in the Marine Corps, before they started calling me Godzilla, they called me the Vanilla Gorilla, which I thought was appropriate. Then they called me Godzilla because I would break things, usually not sober, but 6'7". Yeah, 6'7", 350. So, but not 350 anymore. I got up to 353. Now I'm down to 333. So it's a start. What happened was I started taking testosterone. The doctor gave me testosterone because it was crazy. So it was crazy low. So they gave me testosterone, and all of a sudden I started feeling awesome, fucking great, and really hungry all the time. I sleep 9 hours a night straight through. All of a sudden I didn't wake up in the middle of the night to go pee, nothing, just sleeping 9 hours straight through. Wake up, jump out of fucking bed, ready to go. And life is good. Have a cup of coffee and just happy as hell. Except I was hungry all the time. I probably honestly eat at least a few pounds of vegetables every day. Like, I've got big, huge bags of stir-fry vegetables stuffed, and my freezer is stuffed full of them. So I'll take out a pound and a half, throw them in the wok, and but if you don't eat enough protein, you're still hungry. That's something I found out about. Yours was 179. That's low. You're gonna love this. Mine was 76. Now, for my age, it should be about 300. Yeah, exactly. 76 is lower than an 85-year-old woman's. And they said to me, do you feel depressed? Or I was like, no, I'm just tired all the time. Just feel tired. They're like, okay. I said, and I I'm losing a lot of weight, just feeling skinny and ugh. And they said, okay, well then, told them I had to take a nap all the time. So now, no way. So it's a lot of fun. It's good stuff. Let's see. Oh yeah, you definitely feel it. That's funny. Yeah, I definitely put on 70 pounds as soon as I started it. Oops. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely the guy to be with when the grid goes down. No question about that. 249, that's low. Yep, it should be. Look, if you're going to spend the money to have testosterone therapy, then you want it to be the same place it was when you were in your 20s, which should be about 600 to 700. Now, there was a time when I played football and mine was 1100. And the doctor looked at me and he goes, you realize that the only thing I can think of on earth that has a higher testosterone level than you is a bull shark. And I said, bull shark? All right. So is that good? And he goes, not really. And he goes, do you get in fights a lot? And I said, well, no, you mean like fights where you're mad, like brawls with people? And he goes, yeah. And I said, no. And he goes, that's surprising. You should be very aggressive. And I said, well, I do MMA. He was like, oh, well, that explains it. By the way, if you do MMA, you're the least aggressive person in the world. That's why very rarely do you hear about MMA guys going out and, beating up their girlfriend or any of the stuff you hear about professional athletes where you just go, oh, God, what's wrong with these people? You don't hear that from a lot of MMA guys because when you work out, you're done. Like you don't have a mean bone in your body. You don't feel aggressive. You don't have a chip on your shoulder. Like, am I the toughest guy on earth? No. Am I tough enough? Yes, I'm tough enough. I don't have to worry about that. And of course, exhaustion is great for men. Like, hey, my daughter, when she was little, she drew a picture of me, and I still have it somewhere. I actually framed it. I said, what is this picture of? And she goes, that's you, Daddy. And I said, it looks like a dead person on a stretcher. And she started laughing. She goes, no, that's you on the couch after practice. And I went, oh, because I played college football at 38. So I went, oh, yeah, that does look like Daddy on the couch. Because I would come home with one arm hanging out of the couch. I would just pass out. It was, at 38 years old, playing college football is a bitch, especially in Phoenix in the summertime. You're practicing, it's 117 degrees. They don't give a shit if you drop dead. You're just a college football player. 900s, yeah. See? Yeah, 900 is super high. Super high. 700's awesome. 700, you're going to feel great. I'm probably at only about 500 right now, which is still, for somebody who's 40 or 50, that's normal. For somebody who's 20, that's low. They should be at 790, 800, right in there. So, again, do you want, I think it's absolutely horrendous idea. You don't do UFC at the White House. I mean, my God, how close to idiocracy can we get? Like, the next thing you know, we're going to have the WWE at the White House. Like, are they going to clear out the fucking Oval Office? Or are they going to leave the carpet there that's got the eagle? Are they going to change out that carpet to the war carpet? Because if you don't know this is kind of idiotic trivia that I'm stuck with in my brain all day. When we go to war, they take out the carpet that's in the middle of the Oval Office where it's the eagle, and they've got olive branches in one talon, and they've got arrows in the other. And the eagle is always looking at the olive branches because that's peace. But when we go to war, they have another carpet where the eagle has his head turned towards the arrows. Whenever we go to war, they roll up that big, huge round carpet, and they have a special storage room for it. And then they bring in the other one. Well, of course, we don't declare wars anymore. We just have weekend vacations at Bernie's or whatever we call them. But yeah, the idea that we're going to be having some public fight like that, it's like, to me, that's just too fucking close to the gladiator stuff, to the circus and bread. It's like, come on, man. There's got to be a line where you just go, no, we don't do that. Like this is a sacred space. And do I appreciate MMA? Yes. Do I appreciate the strategy, the amount of effort, the amount of single-mindedness that goes into making a champion in any sport? Yes. Does that translate into statesmanship and the art of government? No. That's what Madison Square Garden's for. Do that there. But the White House, yeah, the White House, in a way, it's like a museum. And in a way, it's like a church. It's like, it's a place where everything should be, the ideals should be higher than punching each other in the face for fun. Well, unfortunately, yeah, we still don't know whose cocaine that was, do we? Very interesting, because at some point it came out that that bag was cocaine and that there were fingerprints on it, on the bag. And yet we still don't know anything about that. See, this is why when you say, well, it would be better under Biden, and when Biden's president, you say, well, if fucking Trump hadn't gotten screwed out of that election, if they hadn't cheated, we'd still have a real president. No, 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 no. It doesn't work that way. The way that it works is there are maybe 3 different, very quiet pools of power. Israel being the biggest, because they don't have an issue with our banking system, our pharma system, our defense department, or our energy system. They can work with oil companies and do. They own most of the banks, so that's cool. The central bank, who owns it? That's a good question. It's mostly owned by other major banks. Oh, like who? Well, like, for instance, Chase, Citi, JP Morgan. Oh, so they own the Federal Reserve. In a way, yeah, they own the stock. Oh, interesting. Well, that's the thing. Does Rome, or more specifically the Vatican, have influence? Oh, yeah, no question. Does it have as much influence as it once did? No, not even close. And the reason for that is the Holy Roman Empire, the church, they are not close to Israel. They refused to recognize Israel as a country for many years after 1948. The Catholic Church still teaches Christianity in the same way that fundamentalist Protestant Christians did 150, 200 years ago, which is the Jews killed Jesus. It's all bad. They're all bad. We don't like them, but there's some of them that are okay, but don't turn your back on them. That was kind of the attitude that Christians had. That's not my opinion. You can read about it. So, okay, well, what changed? Well, somebody realized that if you own the media, you control the message. And if you control the message, then you control the outcome. And of course, the message back 150 years ago was the Bible. That's the message. So if you can change the message in the Bible, at least not the Catholic Bible, but if you can change the Protestants' attitude towards Judaism, then you can start to remake things in your more along the lines of what you want. So that's when the Scofield Bible came out, and dispensationalism, and the idea that we need the chosen people. We are the chosen people. No. It said that in Genesis. Okay, but Genesis is irrelevant. It's totally irrelevant. No. Yeah. There's this guy that came along called Jesus. Oh yeah, he came along, but he's not really what you thought he was. He's just like a messenger. So you're a Muslim. No, I'm a Christian. No, you're not. You can't be a Christian and say that anything before Jesus is important, because it's not. As a matter of fact, he made it very clear that he was here to set fathers against their own sons and sons against their fathers. Now, did he mean in like a fist fight? No. He meant that your fathers have it all wrong because they don't know the truth. I'm the truth. I'm going to tell you the truth. Oh, all right. Well, if we follow you, then what happens? Well, your fathers are going to hate you. Everybody that is not of this generation or further down the line is going to hate you. Everybody before us had the wrong idea. They went way far out of bounds. They're totally astray. Oh, okay. So how do we get to this thing where it's like, oh no, we have to help them because they're like Ted Cruz says. He went to Washington with the express purpose of helping Israel. Wait, what? Well, I thought you were a Hispanic guy from Texas. Yeah, I am. The fuck do you care about Israel then? Well, Israel's the most important thing in the world. It's like, well, wait, what? Where did you get that? Like, this ain't even Israel, first of all. I mean, I've been studying this a lot. So, first of all, this is all craziness. Well, no, it's not really crazy. See, you just have to read this one specific interpretation. And then you'll give your life over to helping the chosen people, which, by the way, are not us. Okay, but that's an exact, absolute 100% contradiction to what Christ taught. Well, yeah, but see, that's the thing is the Jews don't call him Christ because Christ means Messiah, and he's not the Messiah. He's a lying sack of crap, according to them. Woo. Wow, this is craziness. Yeah, it is. So, the way I came to my belief system was really simple. I said, okay, I know, we all know in our heart, if we could talk to God, what would God be like? Angry, resentful, just full of hatred, condemnation? No. I don't think so. Okay, well, then any religion that teaches that that's the way God is, okay, well, then that's not a real religion. Like, that's some form of weird death cult. Yup, sure is. It's all about sex and death and what you can and can't put in your mouth and eat and who you can and can't spill seed into or onto or whatever. What? Yeah, it's about a breeding program and an eating program. Ew. Yeah, and anybody who disagrees with it, you got to kill them all. Women, children, hell, kill their farm animals too. Rip them out by their root. Okay, this is getting to the point where I'm starting to think this is satanic. Well, it's not satanic, it's just antichrist. Well, antichrist, no, not antichrist. They're just anti-Christ. See how weird this gets? It's a slippery slope. You just right down that slope where you're like, okay, well, wait a minute. But there are only two other major Western religions other than Christianity. Uh-huh. Yeah, and they teach hate. Oh my gosh, you're not allowed to say that. Okay, but what do you call the words that are in those books? What do you call it? Look, if you say that you have to kill somebody who doesn't believe what you believe, now, maybe they don't believe what you believe, but they don't give a fuck what you believe. They don't care. Nope. You got to get rid of them. Okay, but what if I really, honestly, I don't mind. Whatever you believe, I just go, okay, you know what? Like, look, you're into this, whatever you want to call it, religion, cult, whatever. But it doesn't bother me, so have fun with that. Do your thing. By the way, if you want to do business, we can do business. As long as you're honest, I'll be honest, and we're good. No. We have to kill you. Okay, well then we can't be friends. no, you have to be our friend. So wait, so I have to be kind to you. Yeah, but you don't have to be kind to me. No. Why? Well, because your religion is a religion of love and kindness. Okay, I don't get it. Well, your guy Christ says you're supposed to love thy neighbor. So if we do horrible things to your daughter, or we come into your country and try to destroy it from the inside out, if we steal or cheat you or whatever, hurt you physically, you have to forgive us. Your guy said that. Okay, then I just don't want to be around you. That's crazy. Luxter, the end of the world is looking right on time. Right on time. Yeah, things are very interesting. Says an eye for an eye. Oh, the New Testament? Did Jesus Christ say an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth? Oh, he did say that, didn't he? Why did he say that? Yes, Jesus quoted the phrase "an eye for an eye and a tooth for a tooth" in Matthew 5:38 during the Sermon on the Mount, but he was quoting it as an established legal principle from the Old Testament to contrast it with his own teaching. Well, I'll be darned. So he said it, but he wasn't quoting himself. He was quoting the old shitty book that you shouldn't bother reading. Except Enoch. Enoch's awesome. I've read all the books of Enoch, and the part where they take him up into heaven, and heaven, by the way, you climb into heaven on a ladder, a stairway to heaven, if you will. And when you go inside, it's full of beings that are moving around, ignoring you, and they're playing with gemstones of all different flashing colors that are on the walls of heaven. I know you're thinking, what the fuck, dude? That sounds like a spaceship. Sure does. Well, what about the beings? Well, they're just very large beings of light. They're glowing beings that are moving around inside of an enclosed space, and they're operating this heaven with gemstones that are lit up. Well, that's what he says. Yeah, motherfucker, that's weird. So I love Enoch, and I love the fact that the angels who came down here and diddled our forefathers' daughters asked Enoch to go talk to God because they were afraid that the God was going to, bitch slap them, obviously. So they asked Enoch to go ask God for mercy, because yes, we diddled the daughters of man. Yes, we shouldn't have done that. And God said, no, I'm not having any mercy on you. You were spiritual beings, and you decided that you wanted to know what it felt like to be creatures of flesh. So now you're going to understand what it's like. And the way I'm going to make you understand that is I am going to murder your children, and you're going to know that I did it. And you're going to watch me do it. And that feeling you get watching your children die, now you know what it's like to be flesh instead of spiritual. And then, by the way, I'm going to stick you in a hole somewhere, we don't know where. I'm going to stick you in a hole in the ground, and you're going to stay there forever. For all of eternity, you will be chained in the darkness of this hole somewhere. Wow. That's some crazy shit right there. And by the way, Enoch was such a cool dude. He really was. Really nice guy. So nice, as a matter of fact, that he is the only person that didn't die. God came and took him. And it says in the book of Enoch that he went with God. That he left, took off with God, didn't die. He's just still with God. That's crazy. Because, they talk about dying and going into heaven, going, through the gates of heaven or going to hell. But Enoch didn't die. He was still alive when God called him, and he went to God and they left. So it does make you wonder, like, did he get in a spaceship and go with God with a little g? Because the whole story makes it sound like the God of the Old Testament is actually not God, because it doesn't act like God. It doesn't feel like God. It feels like this angry ruler, like this dictator who says, I told you to watch over people. You're the watchers, not the diddlers. Oh, well, we're really sorry, God. We won't do it again. Nope. There's no mercy here. It's like, whoa, okay. So Christ comes and says, no, the true God is a God of mercy. Rabbi Martin. I'm going to have gefilte fish for dinner, along with some very, very, very crunchy crackers, or as we call them, unleavened bread. Look, you say what you want about the Jews or the Muslims, but you got to love the fact that they don't touch pork. Because my son and I ate 2 pounds of bacon for breakfast. Well, with breakfast. It wasn't just bacon for breakfast, but it was a lot of bacon with breakfast. But we had bacon and eggs. And yeah, it was really good. 2 pounds. Made it myself. It's funny because I bought a cover, like one of those screen things. And you still get bacon grease everywhere. I don't know how that happens. Yes. Yes. The Ethiopian Bible is wild. I just had my daughter buy one. I told my daughter, look, if you're going to get a Bible, get the what do you call it? The James version, like everybody has. But the King James version is, that's a tough one, because there's so much that is so odd. And by the way, there's so many books that were taken out. That's true. That should be the only limiting factor to bacon consumption. That, and like, how wealthy are you? That's how, actually, now that I think about it, that's how we should measure wealth in the United States. Strips of bacon. Are you a billionaire? Oh, yeah. I could, if I wanted to, have 42 billion strips of bacon. Yeah, by the way, when you actually read some of the stuff in the Old Testament, like if you take everything that's ridiculous out of the Old Testament, you know what you're left with? About 3 paragraphs. That's it. Well, we wandered around in the Sinai for 40 years. A blind squirrel could find their way across the Sinai in less than 40 years. But the Lord kept confounding us. Oh, because you're his chosen people. Yes, because he loves us. Oh, okay, but you can't survive in the Sinai for 40 years. There's nothing there. Well, that's the thing. He gave us this machine to make manna with. Oh, Mana. Okay, well, what's that? Can't tell you. It's special. Deep fried bacon. Sounds almost as good as deep fried butter sticks. So yeah, when you read this stuff, you just, like, I get it. At some point, you got to have this sort of, you just got to pretend like you don't have any brains. You got to just suspend your disbelief. Unless it's true, and then you don't. So when somebody says to me, no, the Old Testament is absolutely, every word of it is written by the Lord's hand directly. Like, there's nothing in there that you dispute. It's like, okay, that's at that point, we have nothing left to talk about. Well, yeah, that's the thing. The reason I believe in Jesus is because, did he walk on water? Really? No. Did he turn water into wine? Really? Because now you're on the second thing that like 30 different deities did in the Middle East back then. Turning water into wine. How about rising from the dead? Oh, there were tons of them that rose from the dead. On the third day? Yep, on the third day. Okay, so what makes Jesus different? The message. As a matter of fact, what did Jesus say about the message or the messenger? I think he said, put no man before God, not even me. So basically, if you have any common sense at all, you read into that don't worship the messenger. So did he do miracles? I don't care if he did miracles or not. Did he even exist in real life? Was there a guy named Jesus? Jesus of Nazareth. I hope so. But if there wasn't a guy named Jesus of Nazareth, who wrote his words? Because whoever that was, they were speaking for God clearly. Clearly. What's the message? Love thy neighbor. Anything, like, can you get more specific? Oh, yeah. Love the sick, the old, the people that nobody else loves. Help the criminals. What? Yeah. But most of all, love children. Don't ever harm children. Okay, well, if that's not God's message to humanity, then I don't know what is. Like, what could you possibly tell me that is more godly than that? Like, come up with a message that's more godly than love everyone. Oh, by the way, he also said, don't be rich, which is kind of falls in line with don't be a whore. Don't sell your soul for commercial goods, for commercial success, for things, because people are more important than property or prestige. But that's not a very good message for the United States in the last 60 years. As a matter of fact, our message has been completely and utterly corrupted. The most extreme version of that is rap and hip hop music. Absolutely the most extreme version of a death cult in the United States right now. Only just barely followed up by porn and OnlyFans. Who owns OnlyFans? Is that a rabbi? I think that's a rabbi, right? Or is that what was it? You porn? No, it's something else. It's the biggest porn website in the world, and it's owned by a Jewish rabbi. Now, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Hip hop is absolutely a psyop. There are very few people know that, but it is definitely a psyop. P. Diddy was a limo driver with no talent at anything. But then he met this do you believe that the Jews are running our country? Of course, clearly. I mean, you don't have to be anti-Semitic to give them credit for running the country. It would be idiotic to ignore the fact that among the wealthiest, most powerful people, this tiny, tiny, tiny percentage of our population is overwhelmingly represented in the Congress, in the Senate, in the judiciary, in the banking system, and in the entertainment industry. Like all of the places that influence you the most in your daily life are extremely represented by Jewish people. Now, are they all bad? No, of course not. But are they incredibly overrepresented as a percentage of the population? Yeah, clearly. I mean, any idiot with a calculator can figure that out. But, I mean, there are certain people that stick out, like this guy, Senator or Congressman Fine down in Florida. I mean, it's such an absolutely reprehensible human being that talks about, when somebody says something about the children of Gaza starving, and he jokes and says, starve away, baby. Like, yeah, let's do it. Let's kill those kids. It's like, you're part of my government. How is that even possible? How can you be so sadistic and inhumane and so public about it? I don't know. You'd have to ask him. He gets elected over and over again. Lindsey Graham. Lindsey Graham's a perfect example. I think Lindsey Graham actually has the audacity, the temerity to call himself a Christian while laughing about killing Russians without having to put any boots on the ground because we fund Ukraine, or did. He jokes about that. Okay, but I mean, you don't understand the message then. You must not have ever heard of this guy, Jesus Christ, because that's absolutely diametrically opposite. Like, I get it. I don't hold Trump accountable for this stuff in the same way that I would hold somebody who claims to be a Christian. Trump made a joke from the podium in a public address this year that he's probably going to hell. He joked about that. He refused to put his hand on the Bible when he took the oath of office for president. Okay, look, you got to at least give him credit for being honest. I'm not touching that Bible. What? Yeah, I'm going to put my hand at my side. Well, but if you take an oath, you put your hand on the Bible. Or, if you're, Ilhan Omar, then you put your hand on the Quran. Yeah. That's awesome. So, it's just absolutely incredible what's going on in the world. But it shows that we live in a very, very crazy, dangerous time. Like really crazy and dangerous. What was inconceivable? I think of Princess Bride every time I use that word. Inconceivable. Every time you think of something as inconceivable, the next thing you know, it's pretty sedate and modest and it's like, just accepted. Yeah, oh no. Yeah, 5 years ago, people would have fallen out of their chair if they'd heard that, but now it's just the news. And again, part of it is a psyop because it's just a matter of overloading you. You're going to get mad about hip hop culture, about the way inner city youth act, about the fact that McDonald's can't even have, serve yourself fountains anymore. They're shutting them all down because, well, watch the videos. It's all these young scholars who just go and get a water cup and steal soda because they feel like that's, everybody owes them something. For what? Well, for slavery, I guess. Okay, but you were born into the richest country in the world. If your parents are both on welfare, you're born into the top 1% of wealth on earth. If your parents are both on welfare, yeah, but that's not good enough. What else could you possibly want? You won the fucking lottery. You were born in the United States. Have you seen what Pakistan towns look like, what the cities look like? The trash in the alleyways and the walkways are 2-3 feet deep. Have you seen what parts of India look like? Where children who have never owned a pair of shoes in their life wander through trash dumps full of toxic waste, trying not to step on needles or broken glass so that they can sift through the garbage so that they can find something to eat for the day or take home to their parents. I mean, the amount of suffering in the world is fucking incalculable. And some asshole from the south side of Chicago says, yeah, man, you owe me. Okay, like what? You owe me an education. All right, well, the first 12 grades are free. And by the way, most countries, kids don't even go to school. Oh, well, you owe me more than that. Okay, well, like what? I get to do whatever I want. I'm above the law because you owe me. Well, now that's a problem. That's going to be an issue. Except I can't say anything about it because that would make me a bad person. I'm supposed to pretend like this issue doesn't exist. Oh, all right. Well, what else? Well, I'm supposed to pretend like anybody who comes to this country, if they came here specifically to take advantage of our wealth and they hate Christians and they hate our system and they hate this whole sort of European thing that we've got going here, well, that's my problem, not theirs. Okay, but they came to my country and now they're stealing, like, I'll give you an example, the Somalis in Minnesota. Well, what are you, racist? No, but I don't like what they're doing. Oh, it's because they're Muslim, right? No. So you don't mind if they blast prayer music at 5:30 in the morning? Yeah, of course I do. I'm asleep at 5:30 in the morning. Well, tough shit. Because if you live in a Muslim neighborhood, you're going to have a call to prayer. Well, wait a minute, but this isn't a Muslim country yet. See, that's the problem. That's why I don't like other religions, because other religions say, become one of us or else. Christians running around threatening to kill huge groups of people if they don't convert. As a matter of fact, what I did see was I saw a bunch of Christians run across the Atlantic Ocean and set up shop in the United States so that they wouldn't get persecuted. Oh, well, so much for that, huh? Because the thing is that we are a very dangerous country, but only to people who mean us harm. But if you can break us down from the inside out, hollow out the United States and make it basically sickly and weak and just a shell of its former self, well, now you can control it more easily. But you got to break it down first. Same thing with Europe. Well, how do you do that? Well, you put a bunch of people in the middle of Europe who hate Europeans, who have no idea how to act in a civilized society. Okay, and then what? And then you let them get away with crimes that would absolutely result in anybody else going to prison for the rest of their fucking life. What do you mean get away with? A couple 100,000 grapes. Nobody gets prosecuted for any of them. Why? Because You don't want to seem racist. Oh, okay. Call to pray alarm on your phone? Yeah, no, I don't have that. That's not necessary for Christians. You call it that. They call us racist if we don't like what's going on. It's exactly true. No, that is true. If and again, it's that's the funny part. It's like they're using the idea that Christ wants us to be kind and loving. Okay. But what about Islam? No. It's started by a warlord. They're going to kick your ass. Oh, well, what about Judaism? Oh, have you read what they do to their enemies? Look at Gaza. Look at Gaza. Okay. What does Gaza have to do with me? Well, eventually, based on what it says in writing, in their belief system, it'll be your turn eventually. That's not institutionalized in their system. Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Oh, all right. Well, that sucks. What do you do then? Well, my grandfather said something to me once, long time ago. I read National Geographic when I was a kid. I was probably 12 or 13. And I read this National Geographic that warned of the coming population boom and how by the year 2000, we'd have 40 billion people in the world. And there wasn't enough agriculture to support that, period. And that we were going to have these massive famines, etc. And I went to my grandfather and I said, it says here that there's going to be 40 billion people by the early 2000s. And he said, yeah, you don't have to worry about that. And I said, well, what about the other one I read from the 70s that says there's going to be an ice age in the next century? And he said, well, that's possible. And I said, well, how do you know? And he goes, well, because Mother Nature has a funny way of balancing everything out. And I said, so you think the overpopulation and the ice age? He goes, well, Mother Nature has a way of just balancing everything out. So we'll see. Well, as it turns out, the wealthiest people in the world have gotten away with polluting the planet so badly and making it so hard to survive that we, as mammals, stopped having children. Pretty much everywhere in the world except Islam. Just no kids. Nobody wants kids. Well, that and the Jewish town in New York where they said that the average family has like 15 kids and lives on welfare. What do you do? Yeah, it's a very interesting thing. Now, of course, the other shoe still has to drop. The ice age. Could there be an ice age? Yeah, there sure could. The Atlantic overturning meridional current, which is so for some reason weakening right now, which is funny because if this whole thing about global warming were true, it would be strengthening, not weakening. But it's weakening. And when it weakens, what happens is it stops bringing cold water down to the tropics and it stops bringing warm water up past Ireland and up to Iceland. So that means that the winters in the north don't go away. Now, does this happen on the regular? Yeah, actually, every about 400 years, we have what's called a grand solar minimum, where the sun gets very quiet And then for about 70 years, you don't have a lot of sunspots, very little solar activity. And then all of a sudden, the Earth starts to cool dramatically. The last time that happened was in the 1600s in Europe. They called it the Little Ice Age. Half of Europe died from starvation because no crops, and it lasted for 70 years. It was called the Maunder Minimum. Now the interesting part is that they seem to happen about every 400 years, and the last one was 412 years ago. And another thing that tends to happen is as we go through solar cycles every 11 years, as we come out of a solar maximum into a solar minimum, it looks like that is when we usually have the largest solar disruptions. So if we're going to have any massive solar flares, it'll probably be in the next few years. And then we'll go into an ice age, which it's like, wow, well, that would certainly end the worry about AI, wouldn't it? You really think that the creator of the universe, the creator of everything, the thing that is everything, if there's a God, it's everything. God is everything. There's nothing outside of God. God is either everything or nothing. So therefore, the idea that God created the earth and then on the sixth day rested. Oh, so God's an old fart. He had to rest because he was burnt out after creating the universe. Only a man would write that, a human being who, thinking about the enormity of that much work, would go, yeah, I'd have to rest. I'd have to rest. God doesn't take a day off and rest. That's idiotic. The fact that in the Torah, God has Adam actually mating with different beasts so that we can figure out which one is his match, and then finally decides to just jerk a rib out and make that into, whoa. Like, that's just crazy talk. So, the more you read about these religions, and it's like, okay, well, what about Christianity? All right, so let's just drop Jesus from the whole thing. If you could talk to God, you believe that God would say that the children are the most important among us, the most sacred of all human beings are the little ones, and that no one should ever harm them under any circumstances. You don't harm the little ones. Thanks, Paul. I'd have to say, yeah. Okay, I buy that. God would say that to me. Would God say that, let's see, you should love thy neighbor? Well, that would suck because have you met my neighbor? But okay, yeah, I could see that. God would say, love your neighbor. Don't be an asshole. Love your neighbor. Okay, all right. So yeah, what if Jesus didn't say it? Well, I mean, it's still common sense that, yeah, of course, if you could sit down with God and say, how should I be, God? What should I be like? Well, love your neighbors. Okay, so be a giver, not a taker. Yeah. Do good things for people. Be good. Be nice. Just fucking be nice. Okay, well, that makes sense. What else? Love children. Take care of the elderly. Be good to the elderly. And you know what? The people that are crippled, take care of them too. Okay. What about criminals? Can I fuck them over? No, especially no, not them, because they're criminals for a reason. Treat them with love and respect and see what happens to them. What? Treat criminals with love and respect? Yeah. Are you a Buddhist god? That's some Buddhist shit right there. Like that's some Buddhist shit. But the reality is this. If that's the message, the messenger is irrelevant. The messenger is irrelevant, which is why Jesus said a couple things that were really, really important. And by the way, God would also say share. Share. Don't be a pig. Share. Oh, well, but what if I'm a televangelist? Nope. That shit won't cut it. But what if I need another private jet? Nope. You're going to hell. Oh, well, what's hell? Well, if I could ask God, what's hell? It'd just be being excluded from heaven. I can't think of anything worse. I mean, being excluded from your own family reunion is pretty bad. Like if you're not allowed to go to your own family reunion, I don't have a family, so I don't know what that would even feel like. So, but it would have to suck. So imagine that times infinity. So imagine that this guy comes and he says, okay, look, I got this. Like I got this message. And I'm going to give it to you, but remember, don't put me in front of the message and don't put me in front of God. Oh, okay. What's your name? I probably shouldn't tell you that because if I do, you're going to say my name over and over. People are going to start worshiping me. They're going to start calling me God. I'm not God. Put no man before God, not even me, even though I'm going to give you the message. And the message is big. But remember, I'm just the messenger. Okay, got it. He gives us a message and we go, Jesus is God. He's like, no, I just said don't do that. Okay, you're going to perform greater miracles than I will. There's no way Jesus said that. No way. Did Jesus say, you will perform greater miracles than I? Yes, he did say that. Son of a bitch. In John 14:12, that believers would perform works and greater works than he did. Huh. Well, son of a bitch, what are the odds of that? Okay, so he's really saying, listen to the message. Don't worship the messenger. And what did Muhammad say? Well, Muhammad said he could have sex with 23 women in one night. That's true. Not misinformation. I didn't make that up. Read it. The Quran talks about it. He said that his youngest wife was 8 years old, but he didn't consummate the marriage for a few years after that, so no big deal. By the way, it also said that he went out into the desert with a friend of his and was ridden all night long by a group of men, and that when they were finally done with him and they left, he went back to his friend who was waiting in the sand dunes not too far away and said that they had grievously injured him with their activities, and then put his head in his friend's lap and fell asleep. I don't know what that means, but it sounds a little weird to me. That's not something. If I were God, that's not what I would. I wouldn't tell my messenger, look, go brag about all of this stuff that you're doing, this physical activity, we'll call it, with 20 women in a night and with a little girl and with a bunch of men in the desert. Don't Let's not talk about that, because that's not really what I want to focus on. Like, you know, chimpanzees can do that. That's not very godly. We're supposed to be higher than that. Oh, Oasis, I'm so sorry. I offended Oasis. When Mohammed was talking about the maximum amount of women he could have in one night, how many was it? Let's see. According to the narrations of Sahih al-Bukhari, one of the most authentic collections of the Hadith, it is reported that the Prophet used to visit all of his wives, 9 in total, in one night. Oh, you're right. So he only bragged about sleeping with 9 women in one night, not 20. I was misinformed. Thank you for setting me straight about that, Oasis. He only talked about diddling 9 women a night. That's, wow, 9. That sounds like God. That's a godly message right there. I am your Lord. Thou shalt have no gods before me, and diddle no more than all of your wives in one night. Even if one of them's a child. It's so sad, because when you look at this, when you look at the whole idea of what Islam teaches, you go, what? Like, is this real, or is this a joke? Oh, no, this is very real. There are 1 billion people who actually believe this nonsense. Wow. What? Yeah, they actually believe that this is God talking about, like, this is what God wants. He wants this. Okay, well, that's terrifying. So what about someplace like, oh, I don't know, Afghanistan or Pakistan? You have no context about it. Oh, context matters when it comes to that. Oh, absolutely, no question about it. Being ridden in the desert by 8 guys, that the context really matters there. Going to your friend afterwards and saying that they injured you terribly. Were you arm wrestling? Did you tear your bicep? Because that's not what it sounds like. But the reality is, I don't care, because I look at the Quran and I can't help but feel sorry for anybody who reads it and doesn't laugh out loud. It's that silly. It's as bad as the Old Testament. It's as bad as the Torah. Like, you read the Talmud, the Torah, or the Quran, and some parts of the Bible, and you go, are human beings that stupid? They can't be that stupid. You can't ask me to believe that there is an all-powerful being that puts Mo in charge of the message. Like, the guy is a warlord. He's a clown. And clearly, the whole thing, like, just look at the way they treat themselves, each other, their people. It's horrific. It's horrible. And you go, well, yeah, but I mean, look at the crime rate. The crime rate's like nil. Well, yeah, if you threaten to cut a guy's hand off for stealing, If you threaten to imprison a woman for speaking in public, oh yeah, that's a thing in Afghanistan now. What? Women aren't allowed to talk in public? Nope. Nope. And yeah, there's that. You can lie to anybody. God says you can lie to anyone if you perceive them that they might be an enemy. Lying is totally okay. No, it's not. Oasis. Come on. Really? You don't think I saved the article that talks about how the Taliban have now decided that women are no longer allowed to speak in public? That didn't cause an uproar? It caused a huge uproar. Not in this country, because the Me Too movement was designed specifically for this many people, and anybody outside the United States can still do genital mutilations. Wait, genital mutilations? Are female genital mutilations something that is okay in Islam? Oh yeah, it's done to literally hundreds of thousands of children. They use a razor blade and they hold these little girls down and they cut their genitals. Oh, I need to get some knowledge. Oasis, it sounds like what you're saying is I need to be reprogrammed correctly. And we all know what it means when somebody who's religious tells you you need to be reprogrammed. Oh yeah, even here in America. No, there are Muslim doctors who will perform the what did they call it? I forget what they call it here. But when they actually go in and they hold a little girl down. I just watched a video. It's absolutely horrific, because they actually had, in a lot of countries, in places like Indonesia, where there's a huge Muslim population, in Africa, these things are done because if you cut off the parts of a girl that are the most sensitive, she won't be as evil, because she won't enjoy sex. So if she doesn't enjoy it, then she won't do it with anybody but you, because she has to do it with you. You're her husband. You own her. Secondly, no. Oasis, of course. Where are their oases? North Africa. Got it. Now I understand why you are so adamant about trying to correct me, even though in your heart I'm right, which is why it bothers you so much. Because when you say something to somebody that's patently not true on its face, they go, I don't understand what you mean, but no. Oh, they're cultural things. That's why they only happen in Muslim countries or in Muslim areas, and they only do it to Muslim girls. That doesn't sound cultural. That sounds religious. Really? So there's that many Africans in places like, I don't know, Indonesia? And by the way, the Indonesians and the Africans look just exactly alike. And when you go to all of the North African countries like Algeria, they actually don't look black, but they still get genitally mutilated. Look, I get it. It's embarrassing. There's a lot of things that are embarrassing. The fact that so many dancing boys exist in places like Pakistan and Afghanistan. The fact that SA is just a common thing in a lot of Muslim countries. It's just no big deal. It's just, if you're a little boy, you better never walk home alone, because, will you get robbed of your lunch money? No. Will you get something else that's much, much, much worse? Yep. Where am I getting my info? Are there genital mutilations that happen to little girls all around the world? And what religion seems to be behind it? Religious views on female genital mutilation. Let's see. Prevalence, more than 30 countries among immigrant populations. That's immigrants from where? Oasis. Let's see. Okay. They found in many Muslim majority regions. But to be fair, they also do it in Africa if they're sometimes Christian. Now that's interesting, because Africa, when I think of Africa, I think of a place that is clearly the paragon of evolution. I think of a place, a country, and a continent that are so mature in their beliefs, and they're so well regulated, they're so well managed by themselves that, well, I mean, it's the best place on earth to live. Well, I mean, if you're a warlord or you like to off people, unalive them. By the way, how's South Africa doing? Read the book, the Quran. That's funny. Well, I've studied most of it, not all of it, because some of it's totally irrelevant, as you know. Doesn't really give you much in the way of information. But there are some parts that are, boy, they are good. They are interesting, insane, horrific, embarrassing, but some good reading, man. Like you're never going to get any of that information anywhere but the Quran. Although I got to admit, the Torah is as incredibly violent. Like if you look at the amount of genocide in those books, the murdering and the sex and the what you can and can't eat and who you can and can't diddle on what days and who's unclean. Both of those books, before and after Christianity, are both just horrible. They're pathetic. And I don't like them. I don't like those books. And guess what? I'm allowed to not like those books. Now, am I forced by law to like the people? Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have to. I have to like the people. If you say that you don't like the people that love those books, that believe those books are absolutely 100% true, then you're in big trouble. Now, the crazy part is I don't wish those people any ill will at all. Read those books and you'll see that they absolutely want me dead because I'm not one of them. Whether it's the one before us or the one after us, both books say that you either are one of them or you're dead. Period. I mean, according to Big Mo, I am an infidel. Now, I might be allowed to just pay a higher tax if I'm allowed to survive in their country. I can just pay a higher tax for being a non-Muslim. But in reality, eventually, if you're not Muslim, then you're an infidel. Period. You keep telling yourself that, Oasis. Have fun with that. The reality is that the Torah, or actually the Talmud, is even worse. It says that anybody who believes in this guy, Jesus of Nazareth, the Nazarene, they call him, because they refuse to call him Christ because he's not the Messiah. He's a joke. Go to Muslim country and Christian love to stay there. You mean like the UAE? Man, can you believe their hotels went from 80% occupancy down to 10% occupancy? The UAE is gone. The Sunni Muslims are scared right now. They are terrified, and they should be. They should be absolutely shaking in their sandals because Iran finally flexed its muscles. The Shia finally said, enough is enough. Let me show you who's really in charge, boys. Saudi Arabia refused to let us use their airspace. That's how afraid of Iran they are. Kuwait, same thing. Kuwait was like, nope, we're not doing it. We're not going to let you overfly us. Because if you use our airspace to go after Iran, the Shia are going to end us. Yep. Well, I mean, I guess you gotta ask yourself which is better. Because the Sunnis, I think we all know who owns them too. Because they're about as religious as, the average dude walking down the street in any part of the world, just not really into it that much. And, well, that's funny. Oasis clearly isn't very religious, because if he were, he'd know that Sunnis and Shias have never gotten along, ever. And they have hated each other literally since, I'm going to say about a week after the Prophet died. They have been at each other's throats, and I even know why. Well, I mean, good ramen noodles, yes, anytime I can. But those ramen noodles, no, those are to show people that, look, if that's your idea of prepping, do it. If that's all you can afford, do it. If you can afford to buy 20-pound bags of rice, do that. But believe me, now is the time, because we've got a grid that is so old that it's literally on its last leg. It's literally like all of our major transformers, the biggest ones, the ones that take years to replace, those are literally supposed to last 40 years max. They're all over 40 years old. All over 40. They are way past their life cycle, and there's no way to replace them. Not all of them. There's 2,000 of them. If 10 or 15 of them go down across the country, they will literally destroy the rest of the grid. They'll overload the other ones, which are not able to handle the capacity. This is something I've studied a lot. That's why I wrote a book about how to surviving the crisis. Yep. Watch for videos about that, because there'll be plenty of them shortly. All right, guys. Well, I am going to call it a night. I've been on here for a couple hours. It's good enough for me for the night, and I will see you tomorrow night. Is tomorrow Friday? Oh, yeah. Fun Friday. Fun Friday. Gotta love Fridays. Oh, holy smoke. Hippocrates. Yep. Love Hippocrates. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to end the live stream here. I felt bad for Oasis. Clearly Muslim, clearly not happy with what I was saying, but, hey, man, I'm just telling the truth. And sometimes the truth sucks. But we all know what truth is. I mean, you feel it. You feel it. You know, if I say, look, you know, my Lord rode a pony through the sky. Horses don't fly. Mine does. My Savior's pony can fly. What? Yeah. And my Savior can sleep with as many women every night as he wants. Why are you telling me that? What does that have to do with God? I don't know. Just thought it was cool. It's like, holy shit. It makes you wonder. It's like, how in the world do these people like, and I get it. It's completely, utterly male-dominated religion. Like, women are just an afterthought completely. And, you know, talk about Stockholm syndrome. My God. No, I want to wear this head to toe veil. What? Wait a minute. What are you talking about? No, I want to wear this. I don't want people to be able to see my face. Okay. I want to walk 3 steps behind my husband so he doesn't beat the shit out of me. What? Well, yeah, you don't want your husband to beat you. Oh, do you like it when that happens? No. Okay, then why would you marry somebody who might beat you? See, it's like, this is craziness. But nobody wants to call it out. That's the weird part. Why? It's almost like everybody's so full of shit nowadays that they're afraid that if they call you out, you're going to call them out. It's like, okay, so go ahead. What am I doing that's so full of shit? Because if I'm doing something that's full of shit, I don't want to. I don't mean to. And if I am, I want to know about it. It's like if you didn't know how to play golf and you went out to play golf with your friends and they didn't tell you how to play golf. Like, oh, no, you have to hit the ball towards that flag way down there. You're hitting the ball off this way, or you're picking it up and throwing it with your hand because nobody told you got to bring clubs. It's like, it'd just be bullshit. So, and that's just seems to be the way the world is right now, and I'm not okay with that. Call me autistic if you want, but I just, you know, fair is supposed to be fair. Yeah, that's a given. Anyway, all right, you guys have a great night. I'm gonna see you tomorrow.